all of you to the next session of Exploring Physics. Few students are submitting the assignments consistently and you are all doing the great work, so keep doing it. I hope all of the students do know that we have a Google Classroom account for this subject, physics. So if you are not in the Google Classroom, get the code from your friends and join in the Google Classroom, so it will be very easy for you to submit the assignments, and I will be grading you and I will also be giving the comments for you for each and every person. So cheer up and do the assignments and keep learning. So do you all have your notebook and pen with you to take down the important points? I think yes. What is the lesson we are studying? We are studying the matter lesson. In this lesson, we have completed few topics like kinetic theory of matter, 3 states of matter, and we have started with changes of states. In changes of states, we have completed the melting and freezing, and now we are going to study what is vaporization, condensation and sublimation. Right? Shall we move on to the class? What we are going to study next? Did you guess it? Yes, we are going to study about vaporization, that is liquid state to gaseous state formation. In vaporization, there are two things. One is evaporation and another is boiling. What is evaporation? Change of state happening at the temperature below the boiling point is known as evaporation. What is boiling? Change of state happens at the temperature of the boiling point is known as boiling. So the boiling point is defined as the temperature at which the vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. Have you ever used earthen pot during summer season to get the cool water? But how does the water present inside the earthen pot become cool? Let us explore that. So this is the earthen pot, or we can say it as mud pot. In mud pot, there will be several holes, small pores present inside the mud. But when you are seeing the plastic container or metal container, there will not be any pores. Okay. So during summer season, what will happen to the water? The water will evaporate, right? The heat energy is given out. But since there are small pores in the earthen pot, the heat energy is being transferred out through these small pores. That results in the cooling down of the water present inside. In case of any other containers like metals or plastic, there will not be any pores for the passage of the heat to be given out. So the water present inside will not be cooled. But in the earthen pot, the heat can be easily given out using the small pores, so the water present inside can be cooled. When the heat is given out, the water is being cooled. So what is the process involved in that? In liquid state, the particles will be colliding with each other, right? When they are colliding, the kinetic energy will be transferred between the particles, right? How can we visualize that? When we are playing the carom board, when we strike the striker hits the other coin and the other coin will be moved, right? So the kinetic energy of this coin is getting transferred to this coin. That's why this coin is moved. Sometimes the coin may jump out of the board also, right? Similarly, when the collision happens, the transfer of energy also happens between the particles in the liquid state, and the particles may escape from the surface of the liquid. It is similar to the playing of the carom board. So the particles escape. But when the particles escape, what happens to the energy of the remaining particles? There is a reduction. There is a reduction in the average energy of the remaining particles. Why? Because certain amount of energy is being transferred to those particles. No, they would have escaped. When they are escaping, definitely the average energy of the particles present in the liquid state will be reduced. What is the relation between the energy and the temperature? When one increases, the other will increase. When one decreases, the other will decrease, right? So when the average energy of the particle decrease, the temperature of the liquid will decrease, right? So that's how the when the energy is given out through the evaporation, the water present inside the pot is reduced in its temperature, and we can enjoy the cool water during the summer season also. We call it as evaporative cooling. Due to the evaporation, the cooling is happening, right? We studied what is evaporation. It happens due to the transfer of kinetic energy caused by the collision of the particles. That's how the particles escape from the water, right? When does boiling happen? How does boiling happen? When the heat energy is supplied more and more, the rate of evaporation increases. In the evaporation, not all the particles will have the energy to escape. Only the particles on the surface will have the energy to escape. But when the heat energy is supplied more and more, when the temperature is increased, all the particles will gain enough energy to break away from the intermolecular force. And that point is called boiling point. Right? Now, the liquid state will be converted into gas. So the petrol is having the boiling point as 95 degrees Celsius because of the low intermolecular force, and glycerin is having high boiling point 290 degrees Celsius because of the higher intermolecular force. Higher intermolecular force between the particles in the glycerin. We will see the difference between the evaporation and the boiling. Evaporation happens only on the surface, boiling happens throughout the liquid. Evaporation happens below the boiling point, boiling happens at the boiling point. What is the factor on which this boiling point depends on? It is the intermolecular force. In melting also we saw that the melting point depends on the intermolecular force. Similarly, in boiling, the boiling point depends on the intermolecular force. Petrol have lower intermolecular force. Do you know how the pressure and temperature are being related? They are directly proportional. When pressure increases, the temperature will be increased many times. When pressure decreases, the temperature will also be decreased by many times. This affects the boiling point of the liquid also. The boiling point of the water increases with the increase in pressure. That is the principle used by the pressure cooker. How? In the pressure cooker, the pressure will be very high, which in turn increases the temperature and the boiling point of the water. Normally water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, but in pressure cooker, as the pressure is increased, it boils at 120 degrees Celsius. That is, the boiling point is 120 degrees Celsius. So the food can be easily cooked using the pressure cooker. How will be the atmospheric pressure at a higher altitudes? It will be very low, right? When the atmospheric pressure at a higher altitudes is very low, how it affects the boiling point? It takes lot of time to reach the boiling point, so it takes lot of time to cook the food. So what can be used in such cases? The pressure cooker provides constant and precise atmospheric condition inside the cooker, so it reduces the cooking time even at high altitudes. So the pressure cooker is of greater use at the higher altitudes. Shall we write down the important points on the vaporization? One is evaporation, another is boiling. Evaporation we call when the liquid changes into vapor state, which happens at the temperature below the Boiling. When the change of state happens at temperature at the boiling point, we call it as boiling. Evaporation leads to reduction in the average energy of the other particles in the liquid state, which in turn reduces the temperature. So that's how we get the cool water using the earthen pot. Boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. Pressure and temperature are directly proportional. By seeing the picture, have you guessed what we are going to study next? Yes, we are going to study about condensation. So, what is the example we have seen? When we are boiling the water, when the water vapor is coming, when the water vapor falls on the lid, what happens? The water vapor get converted into water droplets. Why? Because the temperature of the lid is very low compared to the boiling water vessel, right? So, when the water vapor falls on the cool surface, that is lid, it gets converted into water droplets. We attain the condensation process through cooling, right? When we are cooling the gaseous state, what happens? The intermolecular force increases, right? Which binds the particles and convert the vapor state into liquid state, right? There is another way to do this condensation process, that is compression. We already know that gases are highly compressible. So, when we are doing the compression, there also intermolecular force increases and the vapor state can be converted to liquid state. There is a real life example in which we use this condensation process. That is, we liquefy the petroleum gas and using it for our daily life cooking, right? So this is one of the example for the real life application of the condensation process. There are many phenomena which are seen in the nature due to the condensation process. One is dew formation, cloud formation, and water droplets formation on the outside of the cool drinks can. Shall we write down the important points to remember on condensation? Condensation happens through cooling and compression. In both of the ways, the intermolecular force increases. That's what helps the gaseous state to be converted into liquid state. The examples for condensation process are the formation of dew, clouds and water droplets around the cool drinks bottle. Another example is liquefied petroleum gas, right? So by seeing the camphor, guess what we are going to see next? Yes, we are going to study about sublimation. We will see how the sublimation is happening. The solid state is being converted directly to the gaseous state, right? So, the solid state is being converted into the gaseous state without even passing through the liquid phase. There are three phases. One is solid, liquid, gas. But the solid directly being converted to the gaseous state without even passing through the liquid phase, right? And heat is being given out during the sublimation process. The examples for the sublimation process in nature are dry ice, naphthalene balls, air freshness. In all of these examples, the solid state is being converted to the gaseous state. That's why we call sublimation is occurring in all of these examples. What about the energy of sublimation? Here, the solid state is directly being converted into the gaseous state, right? So, it means the energy of the melting and the energy of the vaporization, summation of both of these energies can give us the energy of the sublimation. There is a famous preserving process called freeze drying. There are two terms in this process, right? One is freezing and another is drying. What are the process in this? Freezing and drying. We will see an example for this. This is an example for freeze drying process. You can see here the soup is being taken as a perishable substance, right? It will be converted into ice using the freezing process. Then the ice will be sublimated to form the dry ice. Ice will be dried. That is, ice will be converted into water vapor. So, the remaining substance can be easily transported and preserved. Freeze drying is a process in which the perishable things are dehydrated. You can see that the ice is being dehydrated. That's how it is being stored, right? So that they can be transported and stored without being refrigerated. We need not any refrigeration process. This picture is very beautiful, right? Frost formation. You may have seen such kind of pictures or movies also in which the frost will form. Do you know how this frost is being formed? We call this process as desublimation. What is sublimation? Solid state being converted into gaseous state is known as sublimation. Then what is desublimation? The gaseous state is being converted into solid state is known as a desublimation. How this frost is forming? When the water vapor in the atmosphere falls on the surfaces which is below the freezing point of the water, they will freeze. That's why the water vapor falling on the trees and leaves, they get freezed, and these beautiful pictures we can see. Shall we write the important points to remember on sublimation? Sublimation is a process in which the solid state changes into gaseous state without even passing through the liquid phase. Heat is given out during the sublimation. Energy of sublimation is equal to energy of melting plus energy of vaporization. What is known as freeze drying? Dehydrating perishable things so that they can be transported and stored without being refrigerated. And you know the process of freeze drying? They will first freeze the perishable thing and then they will dry the freezed product using the sublimation process, right? What is known as desublimation? Water vapor freezes directly on the surfaces cooled below the freezing point of water is known as desublimation. So we will see some questions on this lesson. What do you mean by change of state? Write the flow chart showing the complete change of state. We know what is change of state. The process of change from one state to another, either by absorption or rejection of heat at a constant temperature, is called change of state. And you have to provide the complete cycle of change of state, right? So go through this. The next question is, describe an experiment to demonstrate the process of sublimation. Experiment. Take some ammonium chloride powder in a china dish. Cover the china dish with inverted funnel and put a cotton plug in end of funnel so that vapors do not escape. So why we are covering? So that the vapors do not escape, right? Set up the apparatus as shown. So here the apparatus has been shown. Heat the dish with burner. Solid ammonium chloride changes into vapor. When we are heating the dish, what happens? Solid ammonium chloride will change into vapor, and when it falls on the walls of the funnel, what happens? It gets cooled and changes to solid and get deposited there. So this is how we can describe an experiment to demonstrate the process of sublimation. So read through this also. State three factors which affect the rate of evaporation of a liquid. The three factors are area of exposed surface, temperature of liquid, nature of the liquid, presence of humidity. These are the factors which affects the rate of evaporation of a liquid. When more area is exposed, the evaporation will be high. When temperature of liquid is high, the evaporation will be high. And it also depends upon the nature of the liquid, and it also depends upon the environmental conditions like presence of humidity. Wet cloths dry more quickly on a warm dry day than on a cold humid day. Explain. Rate of evaporation is directly proportional to temperature. That's what we seen in the previous question also, right? It depends on temperature. Thus rate of evaporation is higher on warm day, that is hot day than cold day, having lower temperature, and clothes dry soon on a warm day. Water in a dish evaporates faster than in a bottle. Give reason. What is the reason? Exposed area is very high, that's why, right? So read through this. Why are volatile liquids such as alcohol and spirit stored in a tightly closed bottle? It's again due to the rate of evaporation, because it depends upon the nature of liquid. These alcohol and spirit are volatile liquids. That means they can be easily evaporated. So more volatile liquids like alcohol and spirit evaporate easily. Hence these are stored in a tightly closed bottle to avoid their evaporation. So this is an experiment. Describe an experiment to demonstrate that water absorbs heat during boiling at a constant temperature. In the last, read through this question. I will scroll through this. This is a very easy question. You have to draw the diagram and explain. Let us now see the assignment questions for this week. First question is, what is the difference between sublimation and desublimation? Give examples. How does dew formation happen? Explain the change of state with the help of diagrams. Describe an experiment to demonstrate that water absorbs heat during boiling at a constant temperature. Distinguish between evaporation and boiling. I hope you can easily find out the answers for these questions. So submit the assignments on time. Take care of yourself, stay healthy, and bye-bye. See you in the next class.